Hi friends, this is going to be the first part of probably a three-part series that I'm going to do for the month of May, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think it is incredibly important that we have hard conversations around what we are navigating as friends and family. Many of us on a daily basis that feels hard and challenging, and we want to make sure that we are supported and that we know where to go. I have a unique vantage point given that I work with kids around social media, and we know that a lot of the things that they are experiencing through social media can contribute to anxiety and depression. And there's loads of research that's pointing to increasing mental health issues in this space. So I wanted to sort of honor the month of May and Mental Health Awareness Month and provide you guys with some information that, or I guess questions, if you will, that I get from parents that are really hard, they're really tricky, it's very nuanced. But they are very serious issues that they are facing. So I'm hoping that if you're facing this too, maybe it can give you some support, at least help you know where to go, where to turn. I do want to preface all this with, I'm not here to treat or diagnose you through this screen. That's not my job. My job is just to give you information that I have seen work with families that I've worked with, and as we go forward, maybe just some tips and ideas that you, if you deem them reasonable or doable or appropriate in your home, that maybe you can use in your home. But again, I'm not here to treat and or diagnose anything through this screen. So let's kick this off. My first question, or the question for the first part of this series, is one that I get from parents that is really frightening. I do not get it a lot, but I do get it, and I think it's important enough that we have a conversation around it. And that is, what do I do if I have a discussion with my child and I tell them that I'm going to remove the device, or I'm going to make changes to the device, or I'm going to, miss the phone, or remove social media, what have you, and then my child says to me, or they threaten self-harm and or suicide if I remove the device or if I make any changes to that device, which is terrifying. As a parent, no parent ever wants to hear that your child is having thoughts of self-harm, is having thoughts of suicide, and certainly the idea of you feeling like you need to do something, which is removal of a device, to protect your child, is now in fact could create a situation where they want to harm themselves. So it can leave parents feeling very stuck, very frustrated. Many times we have the reason why we're even having these conversations is because something has probably happened within your family, within your child's life, that prompted you to want to make changes with their device because you were concerned. And now you've got to take a look at, well, if I make these changes, are they actually going to harm themselves? So what do we do? How do we navigate this? I want to say, or preface all this with, if your child is threatening suicide, 100% we take them seriously. We take them seriously. And if it is a acute issue, an immediate issue that needs to be addressed, then we are getting help immediately. We're calling 911. We are getting a counselor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist involved. We are getting the support system. If you're having issues, if they are actively trying to do something, immediately we're calling the police. You're going to get the support system that you need in place at your home to immediately address an active issue, if you will, to make sure that they are safe. Because at the cornerstone of all of this, everything that we are doing is safety. That is at the center of everything that we are doing with this. So we assess that, and if that is an immediate issue that needs immediate attention, then we're going to make sure that we do that. If you're having the discussion with your child and they mention it in the discussion, then we're going to do some assessment with our child. If they are not actively trying to do something, meaning truly in front of you. And I have had families where they have had to make changes to the phone because things that were happening with their child and the device by nature were also life-threatening. So they had to remove it because it was dangerous for the family, and the child actively tried to do some things in front of them. I've had several families that have had to navigate that, and it's just an awful situation to be in. Many times it's not so much the phone. Clearly we have much bigger issues that need to address. And they had to call the police, and an ambulance was called, et cetera, to get them the support they need. So if we are not in that space where there's an active situation, so what we can do is some assessment with our child and open discussion with your child, which is so important. So I think one of the best things that we can do, one of the first things that we need to do, is just talk about their feelings around it. Validate that they feel frightened around, removal of device, whatever that looks like, whatever you have discussed that needs to be changed. Validate their feelings. Do not think they're joking. Do not think they're playing. Take them serious. Let them know that you are taking them serious. It does not mean that you are not going to make changes, but it does mean that you're listening, and it does mean that you are here for your child and that you are taking them very serious when they mention to you these ideas. So we're not going to try to invalidate. We're not going to say, oh, that's just ridiculous, right? It's just a phone. There's no reason to say that. We're not going to invalidate. We're going to validate their feelings. So what I mean by that is kids and teens feel things very, very deeply and in a finite way. So if you come to them and say, hey, we're gonna have to remove your phone for a few days or a few months, or I'm gonna make some changes, or the apps, or whatever that is, to them, what feels like little things to us can feel very, very big to them. And that feels very big to them. Why? Because what they hold in their hand every day is their connection to their life every day. So what they hear is, you are removing me from my life. You're gonna rip away my friends. You're gonna rip away my social circle right now, like that. Gives you all the power, and it's gone. What am I gonna do? I can't do this. And then it feels finite. I'll never have friends again. I'll never be able to see my like where they're going, what they're doing. I'll never be a part of their group again. I'll be left out. So it feels very large, and it's very big feelings around it, and it feels very finite. So we are talking through this. So as your conversations progress, in so much in saying, this is not going to be forever, and I want to work on this with you. Validate your kids' feelings and explain, I want to do this with you. I want us to sit down and talk about what this looks like. I want us to discuss why I now feel that we need to have these restrictions. I want us to and it doesn't mean your child's going to agree with you, but it does mean that you are making them a part of the process, which is really important when we start talking about empowerment. So as you go forward in the process, and we are setting boundaries on, this is not finite, this is when you can get it back, this is when you can have the restrictions removed, this is when you can have this app or whatever. It's providing a timeline, so it's not finite, and you're providing boundaries that they will understand, that they can work through and work towards, so they can actually be able to get into a space again where they are appropriately using their phone that is safe. Because at the end of the day, we want to continue to explain to them that safety is our number one responsibility. End of story. I have to make sure you're safe. There will be times that it is going to be absolutely appropriate that you have to completely remove the phone. That it's not a slow progression of discussion, that you have to remove it immediately, and that is if your child is in immediate danger. If they've been talking to someone that, say someone they do not know, and they've provided them with very personal information, family information that puts your child and your family in danger. Maybe you're looking at a sextortion issue. Maybe we're looking at child pornography issues where they have shared pictures of themselves, or someone has shared pictures back with them, which bleeds over into legal issues. there are times where, for your child's safety, that we do have to remove the phone completely. We can follow that up with, what does it now look like for our child to be able to maintain contact with their friends that are a positive aspect of their life? Meaning, so we're going to get rid of this phone, so we're not going to have our social media apps. What does it mean, or how can we make sure they're still seeing their friends, they're still having conversations? There are phones that are texter talkers. Bark makes one, Gab makes one. You can make your phone one. Because we also know that isolation and loneliness breeds depression and anxiety. They're not good for one another, right? So it's not just a matter of like, let's rip it away and let my child figure it out. This is a partnership. We're in this together. We gave this to our child. So now we need to discuss what it looks like so they can rework and reconfigure. Who knows for how long? We set those boundaries in our home, those stipulations, but it's going to look different for a little while. How does that look going forward? Does that mean that you can have your phone, but you have to sit in the kitchen while I'm in the kitchen and you can only use it when I'm around you? Does it mean you can keep everything on your phone, but you only have a time limit for 30 minutes a day? Does it mean we have completely removed the phone, but we're going to set up a situation where you can still see your friends after school, or you're going to be able to go to the movies or go hang out with them or find another way? Does it mean they get a flip phone? Does it mean they get a Bark phone or a Gab phone? There's 100 different ways for you to be able to set boundaries within your home, but they have to be set for your child to be safe. So we're having that ongoing conversation, and you're including your child step by step by step through that conversation. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be easy. It is not. It's not going to happen the first conversation, and it's not going to happen the second, where it just feels like it's starting to flow. Especially if we've never had these conversations with our child, and you've got a 13, 14-year-old that is just making decisions that is endangering them, and you know that you've got to make some hard decisions as a parent. It's not going to flow well. It's going to take a while. But again, if they're threatening self-harm or suicide, we're assessing that risk. We're seeing if that's an immediate threat right then. We're getting the people in place to address that immediate threat. And then as we're going on, we're going to make sure, I highly, highly, highly recommend this. Get a counselor, get a coach, get a psychologist, find a pastor, whoever in your life, and it's nice if it's a coach or a counselor, that understands social media. This is the big part. That understands how to navigate the ins and outs of social media and how kids feel today, about devices and how it is so interconnected with their lives. That is also a counselor, and they can counsel them through these heavy feelings. Because there's other issues, right? There's deeper issues that we're facing. If we jump immediately to a threat of suicide or self-harm, then we've got much deeper issues that that we need to work on. The other thing is, I think it's important to be specific with your kids and direct. Don't beat around the bush. Don't be like, well, maybe we'll change it next week, or maybe we'll do this. Just be very specific. Be very direct, and be very kind, and be very open. They will respond to that. They absolutely will respond to that. The other thing is showing vulnerability with your child. If they tell you that they have feelings of self-harm or have feelings of suicide around not having their device, please tell me why. Help me to understand why. Because as your parent, that terrifies me. I'm so scared. Let them know that it scares you and that you want to be there. Which brings me to, let them know that you're there. Just be around. Let them know that you're there to talk to them without judgment. Let them know that you are there to listen to their concerns about going forward, about what's going on, but also just sometimes a physical presence, if you will, so they know where you are. So if they do have a moment, hopefully they're going to be able to come and talk to you. And of course, as we're talking about, suicide and self-harm, we definitely want to, as we're in sort of that process and we're moving through, navigating through the whys and the whats, that we are making our home as safe as possible. We're moving anything within the home that is dangerous. Medication is locked up and put away. If we have weapons in the home, that they are put away. But just as much as we possibly can to make sure, because again, we're taking this serious. It may be in the moment an overreaction to the overstimulus that they have within their body that says, I won't have my phone. So that's their first thought is, I don't want to be here if I can't be with my friends through my device. That may be their initial response, but they don't really truly have ideas of suicide or self-harm. But we still want to take it seriously. Having a plan is so important going forward. And you can write it down if you want to. If your child is someone that likes things that are in black and white, you can write it down. If you like things that are just written down, we can do that. But we want to have a safety plan in place. And so letting your child know that, if those thoughts continue, they can come talk to you and you're taking them serious and you're going to get them help. That if it's not you that they want to talk to, providing them that place, again, someone they can trust to be able to talk to. But it does not mean that we give the phone back. Because if we are removing the phone because it's a safety issue to begin with, giving them the phone back or relinquishing all control will diffuse the moment, but it is not going to diffuse the situation long term. Right? We're going to have to face that. Okay, so talked about keeping home safe. Have an emergency action plan. So have numbers that you know who to call, whether it's, like I said, in a very active situation that you need someone immediately, or if this is an ongoing situation, who can you call, who can you turn to? So we're going to have that. If you need to take them to the hospital, whatever that looks like, we're going to have that emergency plan in place. So, all this to say, I want to encourage you as a parent, if you have gut feelings, if you have ideas around removing your child's device because you do not feel like they are safe, respect how you are feeling. And we need to make sure that we are acting on that and that we do not, as scary as all of this is, we do not lead from fear. Reach out for support for you, for support for your child, and then move through the process that we just talked about. Assess the situation, decide where you are in this continuum. Stand firm in what you're believing while also providing support. You are in the driver's seat. You get to make the decisions here, and if you feel like your child's safety is at risk and it is coming through the device where they are unsafe, you want to mitigate that risk while also providing support services on the backside. And that can look like 1,000 different ways, and I didn't want this to be over 20 minutes for you guys. So find a counselor, find someone that can help you navigate that, someone that can help you sit down with the phone and walk through it and look at what screen time looks like and all the things, but find someone that can sort of help you walk through all of that. Okay, I am here if you need me. You can reach out through my website, kmbcommunications.com, or just shoot me a quick email, kmbcommunications@yahoo.com, and just say, hey, I've got all this going on. This is what my kid said. What the heck do I do? Where do I need to be? I'm going to put some numbers below that you guys can contact if you are in a crisis. So the National Suicide Hotline for self-harm, etc. And they can absolutely get you to where you need to be in your area. And if you're in your area, of course, to be able to call the emergency numbers where you live. So that is it. I hope this has been helpful. Again, not meant to treat or diagnose, but these are just some tips as you move forward. And if you're having to navigate this, I am so sorry. It is hard and it is frustrating and it can be frightening, but hang in there. It can get better.